Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be talking about my FSU IP experience. My laptop is right here for all the notes, so I'll be looking back and forth. So just some context, I studied abroad in spring 2020. I came into FSU fall 2019 and I came from Honolulu, Hawaii, which is an important part of the story. And I studied abroad in spring 20, as I said, but I was sent home early March because of COVID. That's basically where things end abruptly. And also another thing is I will not use real names for the purposes of identity protection and to not catch a legal case. So let's get on to it. So like I said, I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for about 5-6 years and I wanted to reconnect with my Hispanic heritage. So I decided, let me go study abroad in Spain. And that's not like the only reason why I decided to study abroad in Spain. The other reason was because I lived in Hawaii for so long, right? In Hawaii, it's predominantly people of color, Asian, East Asian, Southeast Asian, Native Hawaiians, Polynesians, and other people of similar black backgrounds, And, you know, I knew I did not want to go to school in the continental United States or in the United States at all. And Hawaii is a predominantly person of color space. I didn't really have to deal with discrimination or racism a lot. And honestly, I really enjoyed my time in Hawaii. If y'all want a video about that, let me know. But I really enjoyed my time there, learning about different cultures, meeting new people, meeting my friends, things like that. And I just didn't want to be in the mainland for the purposes of the majority white population, like that culture shift essentially. I just didn't want to experience. So I wanted to go to school abroad. I just didn't want to be, you know, in the mainland in the United States. I just didn't want to be there. So I wanted to go to school abroad, but I couldn't. My parents were like, no. So I went to Florida State. I basically went because tuition purposes and the study abroad program. So I decided to go through the study abroad program, and I studied abroad to not be in the continental US or the mainland as we call it in Hawaii because of the majority, you know, white population and the issues in the mainland. But I was wrong, because even in Valencia, even in the study center, I face so much discrimination and racism within my own living spaces by my roommates who were FSU students. So I'm gonna go over like the arrival. So context, we're in spring 2020. So after I graduated from Hawaii, I moved to New York with my family. So I flew out of JFK from Madrid to Valencia, which was about 8 hours. And when I arrived to Spain, I was at the airport, and then FSUIP, you know, they had a bus there waiting. So they transported us to the study center. And, you know, I was there, I was in the study center. We were greeted by some members, and as I was leaving, one of the staff members asked like the remaining students. They didn't ask like me when I was there or like the other students. They only asked like these group of students, which they were all white, and they asked them if they speak Spanish. And for me at the time, it broke my heart because I really had an issue. Okay, I'm sorry, I just heard a train. Anyways, I really had an issue with people not considering me Hispanic or Latinx. I really had an issue with that, and I was honestly very hurt. So that was like one of my early moments of disappointment out of many at the Valencia Study Center. And I will elaborate more about my identity and whatnot towards the end, but let's get into more of this story. So, you know, go up after the whole like greet of like, welcome to the study center. I went to my apartment, and whew, Lord have mercy, I was very hesitant. I was excited to meet them, but I was very hesitant because there was nobody that looked like me. They were all white, and I was very hesitant, you know, in my apartment, but I was excited to meet them. You know, I was still very excited. I was like, okay, you know, we can still rock. And one of my greatest fears just came alive literally when I came in that apartment. Like when I went in, one of my roommates, there's 9 roommates including myself, We're all white American FSU students. And so when I came into the apartment, one of my roommates was singing The Box by Roddy Ricch. I hate that song now because of this, but my mind was hoping they wouldn't say the N-word in the song, and that's what they did. Like, the lyric built up and they said it smooth as butter, and I was just like in shock. And they just said it, she sucked a blank, so got a cash app, told him to wipe a blank, no, say slat. And I was just like in shock, like, there's no way this is happening to me. And while I was hurt, you know, while I was very scared, I remained quiet. Reason being is because I would always see like news of white roommates and black roommates, and like white roommates may retaliate to their black roommates. Like, I remember I saw this article. I'm gonna put, like, you know, this thumbnail of whatever the article was here, but basically this white roommate harassed her black roommate, like took her toothbrush, put it in her anus, and like things like that. And I was in shock, so I didn't want to deal with retaliation. And also, all my roommates were against me. For example, they had a group chat without me, and I literally asked, I was like, why am I not in the group chat if we're all in the apartment? And they couldn't give me an answer, and I was just like, okay, fine then. And I was excluded from everything that they did together. Like, I was excluded from taco night, or if they watched a TV show together. Like, I felt alienated and ignored. Like I said, I've read like articles and stories of white roommates terrorizing their black roommates, so I just didn't say anything. I didn't want to be a headline. I didn't want to deal with that retaliation, because like I said, they were all kind of grouped against me. So if somebody really did something, nobody would have stood up for me except myself. Nobody would have said anything. And if I didn't know, like, if they did something to me, like if they did something to my stuff or anything, I wouldn't know, because I just know they wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't tell me because they wouldn't include me into anything. And I'm just gonna go into some of the instances of what I experienced there. For example, my roommate, I had a roommate that we slept. There was a room and there was 2 beds, roommate that slept next to me. She was watching The Bachelor, the contestant elimination of like all the women, and there was literally only one black girl amongst all the white contestants. And this is what she says. She says, kick off the black and keep the white. And I was in the kitchen. So the kitchen's here, and then this is the living room, literally like in the same room. And then she looks over and she's like, you know, she's like, she realized I'm there. It just terrifies me, because this is the person that is sleeping next to me in the same room. And she also wanted to be a nurse, and I will elaborate on that later in this video, but that just terrifies me. And then another time, one of my other roommates, there was 2 guy roommates, both of them terrible because they were racist, amongst other things. But one of them, I remember he was talking about TV crushes, and he says, I like the mulatto chick from Vampire Diaries. And I don't think he realized mulatto was outdated. Like, this is the 2020s, sir. But he was also problematic for other reasons. Like, he would use a stereotypical Mexican accent as kind of like comedy, but it wasn't funny. Like, it really was not funny at all. I don't even know why he did. It was just not funny. And then this is another time to illustrate the alienation that I felt. So one of my roommates, I remember the one that slept next to me, she came up to me and she was telling me about like her shampoo. She was like, oh, so yeah, my shampoo, like the other roommates were telling me that like you used my shampoo because I noticed that it was like, you know, somebody used it, but I knew you didn't use it because you have your own products. And I was like, haha, oh my god. And then I realized, I was just like, wait, why were y'all blaming me for something that y'all did? Like, why was I the scapegoat, like, for y'all's wrongdoings? Like, I just didn't understand that. Like, that just shows like how, like, I just knew if somebody ever did anything to me, they would all be in on it and they wouldn't care. Because how are you gonna blame me for shampoo? And good thing I did have my own products, because I knew homegirl probably would have came and be like, why do you use my shampoo? And it's like, girl, I'm not using your shampoo. Like, But yeah, just that, it just, like I said, one of the many things that rubs me very, very wrong. Even though it had some good moments, sometimes people would be amicable, be nice. There would be people that wouldn't say anything, like they'd just be nice, like they wouldn't be racist. You know, I would have nice chats and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, like, they ignored all of the racist acts that everybody else did, and they were silent. Like, when the other roommates were so rude to me, they didn't do anything, they didn't care. They allowed for this behavior to continue to me, and they didn't say anything. Therefore, I believe they're just as guilty as those who did say racist things, discriminatory things while I was living there. I do believe silence is violence, and they never spoke up, they never spoke out, and honestly, they're just as guilty as the rest of them. And because I lived there, I felt like I was in hell. Like, I would literally try to leave my room as much as possible because I just didn't want to be there. I never felt safe. I just couldn't be there. And oftentimes, like, I'd call my friends, call my family, call my best friend Marvin. He called me with the 6-hour time difference, so shout out to Marvin. But a lot of times I would just cry in silence. Like, I remember I would cry in the bathroom, you know, just to get some peace, just to express like what I was feeling. And also, like, I felt very trapped in the situation, and I had like two Black friends that I would speak to this about at the FSUIP Center, who are FSU students. And, you know, later on throughout the semester, like, I'm gonna say like late February, I considered a room change, but I honestly had my doubts because all of the staff were white. And so my concern was like, how am I going to explain this racism and discrimination? And also, they were mostly Spanish, so I was wondering, like, would they know the history of the N-word in the United States? Do I have to explain, you know, racism in the United States to them? And then there's the other thing with, like, would I be moved immediately? Because if I wasn't, it's a very small study center, so the word gets around fast. And if the word got around, like, oh, you want a room change? Oh, we're racist to you? Like I said, the retaliation, it just shook me to my core. Like, I just didn't want to deal with that. And all these questions bounced around my head. But, you know, late February, early March, that's when COVID came. So didn't really have to do the whole, like, talking to the staff and getting a room change because, you know, we were kicked out. But I remember, you know, during the orientation for study abroad with FSU, on the main campus, like before you go on the FSU's main campus, they have a study abroad like orientation. I remember the presenter was saying, oh, there's support from the staff, there's support from FSU when facing discrimination. But I was wondering, like, throughout like my whole time, like, where is the support? Like, it was never really vocalized, like, in any of the meetings, like, oh, you're experiencing difficulties or like discrimination or racism, or if you need a community like of people that are similar to you, like whether it be like you're LGBT, you are a BIPOC, you have other identities, you know, this is where you can come to the study center. Like, where was that support? Where was those resources? And honestly, I was just wondering, like, how could the staff was not diverse at all. So I was just wondering, like, how could they comfort or relate to me in any sense or understand where I'm coming from? So my breaking point came March 11, 2020. My roommates were having a party in the kitchen, and they were playing music, and the music had the N-word, and they were singing along to it. It was not just my roommates, it was other people in the study center too who are FSU students. All the people in the party that I went to, they were all white American FSU students. So I was so mad because of just like how multiple, you know, white American FSU students disregarded the harm of this word and just said it, like I said, smooth as butter, like it was any other word. They said it so casually, and I was so upset. I went into the kitchen and I turned off the music, and I immediately stated, like, I would appreciate if y'all did not say the N-word. And then immediately after, I was gaslit. And they were telling me, oh, we didn't say it, and I just stood my ground. Like, I projected my voice and I said, you can literally not tell me that. I have 2 ears and I can hear, don't tell me otherwise. And immediately, silence. It was silent. And then after, like, it was silent, and then They asked for forgiveness. They're like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You obviously did. You only are asking for forgiveness because you got caught. And literally, I left the room. I just left the entire apartment. Like, I could not. And I went to my Black friends to tell them about what happened. And the thing is, I recorded all this on my phone, kind of like a voice memo thing, and I showed it to them. The reason I recorded it was because, one, I wanted to like prove to myself what I did, and because I knew it'd be like high emotions and like my memory probably wouldn't be well like if I were to recount it. But also I just wanted it to be proof for what I was experiencing, because I feel like a lot of times when you tell people like racial incidences, they may like, you know, say, oh, you're just overreacting, oh, that didn't happen, oh, but I have evidence now. Now what? You can't say anything. You can't say, oh, I didn't do it. And if like, I remember I was just thinking like, if anything comes about this, I have this evidence to be like, they did this, they gaslit me, because if they were able to gaslight me in that moment, they would have done it any other time too. I still have that video, but I will not put it in this video for legal reasons. And also, it's a very traumatizing video. I'm going to explain like racialized trauma towards the end of this video, but it just brings back very traumatic memories, and I just don't want to do that to myself. So nobody get in the video. So I was very proud of myself because I did stand up for myself and defeating, like, it felt like defeating the final boss, to be honest, because after that they didn't speak to me. They were silent around me. They were scared of me, and I was just like, good, I'd rather have you be scared of me than me scared of you. So like I said, due to COVID-19, we were just all sent home. And at first I was sad because I was trying to go to Amsterdam. I was trying to go to so many countries. But in the grand scheme, I was so happy to be leaving. I was so happy because I could not live in my apartment at the study center with my roommates. They were so cruel. They were so terrible. I was just overjoyed to be left. Other people were sad. I was so happy for that reason because I did not have to be there with them. And while my white, you know, roommates left with happy memories of their living spaces, I was filled with so much pain and so much hate in my heart for them. I despised them. I remember after I blocked them on Instagram, you know, during the Black Lives Matter protests of summer 2020, and I saw a lot of them like post the black squares or like try to be like BLM, but I knew deep down they don't care about Black people. Like, they really don't, because you yelling the N-word. You're saying statements that prioritize white lives. You're saying kick off the Black, keep the white during a contested elimination when there's only one Black person. And the thing is, like, a lot of them can just live their lives comfortably, like with this prejudice and this spirit of white supremacy in their hearts. And the thing is, like, for people like me, for people of color, for Black people, we gotta deal with this racism literally every other day. And the thing is, like, I came home with my bags, and I came home with a bag I didn't even want. I came home with the baggage of the racialized trauma, of racism, of all that. And honestly, I just worry for basically how my roommates will treat other people in the future. Since then, I really hope they've changed. I really hope the summer of 2020 really helped them wake up and realize that, you know, racial discrimination exists. Discrimination amongst minority groups exists. Hopefully they changed. I hope they changed, please. These statements, it could be like, oh, you know, you could just wipe it off, be like, oh, they just said that. But think about it. You know, the person that said, like, kick off the Black, keep the white, the one that was sleeping next to me, wanted to be a nurse. And I just think, like, if you're going to be a nurse, that prejudice within you, that bias within you is going to show itself when you treat patients. You're about to treat Black patients terribly. You're about to treat any non-white patients terribly because of the prejudice you carry in your heart. And you know, that's just terrifying to me. And then other things too, like, I remember, so the other guy, like I said, there's two guys. The other guy, he had a girlfriend of East Asian descent, and I remember one night he got super drunk, and then he said the most discriminatory, racist things about her. And mind you, they've been together for years, and he was saying such disgusting, foul things about her and her race. And then he decided to like be transphobic and like say that she was trans and kind of, you know, like in a mean, derogatory way. And I was just, it was in the kitchen. I was just sitting. So this is the kitchen, and then like this is the table. Like everything's kind of close. And I was just there like in shock, like listening to him. Like, how can you say this about the person you claim to love? Like, how can you say this about your girlfriend you've been with for years? I was just like in shock. Things like that, I just worry about the other people in their circles who they influence. Be like, oh, it's a joke. It's not a joke. Nobody's laughing. No one's laughing. Those jokes carry such a heavy weight that you may not even realize. You know, you may attribute it to other things like, oh, I was drunk. Oh, I was at the third. Oh, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. And your words and actions have serious consequences. And I feel like I really hope that they really sat down and understood, you know, the things that they were doing were terrible. Now what? Today, I really take this entire thing as a learning experience, because I learned how to stand up for myself and do what's best for me without worrying about like the retaliation and whatnot. Back to my initial, you know, reason for going to Spain, for the Hispanic connection. I didn't get that. I didn't really get that. Even after Spain, I was still insecure about not being Hispanic enough and not being considered Hispanic. But like gradually I realized, you know, the reality that anti-Blackness can make people literally just ignore the fact that I'm Hispanic or Latina. And the thing is, I was able to nurture that part of my identity and reconnect with it and be secure in myself and saying like, I am Hispanic, I'm Latina. Like now, if some, like I remember the other day, not even the other day, this was like in December at home in New York, somebody came up to me, this Dominican lady, she was like, are you half? Are you sure? Like she was questioning me. And I know in the past, while that would have made me very upset, I was very calm because honestly, now I'm really, really very secure in my Hispanic and Latina identity that if somebody tells me I'm not, it doesn't matter because at least I know I am. And that's the only opinion that matters, really. Discrimination is obviously an inevitable part of being a BIPOC, especially in the United States. But I feel like we shouldn't have to deal with the consequences like racialized trauma or explaining our experiences to white people who may never understand racial discrimination at all. So right now, I honestly just have racialized trauma from that. That was a very traumatic experience for me. I personally have PTSD, and that experience is one of my reoccurring traumatic experience. Like I get nightmares sometimes from it because of the trauma and the stress from it all. And I'm trying to deal with that on my own because while I am fortunate enough to go to therapy, I am not fortunate enough to, you know, have a therapist of my background or a therapist of color who's able to understand racial trauma. So I'll be looking into that, you know, later on in my life when I have, you know, the resources to do so. But right now I'm just dealing with it on my own. And honestly, this experience made me dive into like racialized trauma and unpacking that, and it's very difficult because it's something that I feel like it's not really looked at a lot. And also I would say that it's very hard to find a therapist of color and a Black therapist, and also to find one within your network. So it's very difficult to like just go solve or like unpack this racialized trauma. And furthermore, somebody who's living in a society that is heavily white and heavily centers around whiteness and white supremacy, it's very difficult. You know, every day I'm gonna need to unpack. And that's what I do with my journal. That's what I do with, you know, meditation, things like that. If y'all ever want a video about that, please let me know. But yeah, I just deal with that racialized trauma on my own. The anger and rage, I felt so much anger and rage from this situation because I felt like I was done wrong on a lot of different levels. And I realized, you know, it wasn't so suddenly. I was going through like my healing journey and whatnot. I realized that keeping on to this anger and this hate does not help me at all. Like, it just makes me more miserable. And I just learned to let go of this hate, even if my body, like, you know, during this entire thing, like, speaking about this physically pains me. Like, it puts pressure on my chest, it makes my throat clench up, but in my mind, I choose to let go of this situation. My body's still stuck. You know, that's the whole PTSD thing, but my body is still stuck, but at least my mind is, you know, sound. You know, I let go of the anger and the resentment that I have towards these people, and I wish them nothing but roses. Shout out to Callie for that one. So I just wish these people nothing but the best, to be honest, because honestly, revenge and hate, it doesn't do anything to amend the past. Like, yes, in the present moment, like, my ego would be fulfilled, but it's like, in the long run, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help me make amends with the past. It doesn't help me in the present, like, in, you know, like, growth as a person. So I'm like, there's just no point of like hating or seeking revenge. So after this whole experience, I remember fall 2021, there was a showcase called Going Global hosted by the Center of Global Engagement. I love them. I'm gonna leave their Instagram in the bio. They're really good. I really like them. And I remember I showcased, basically I made a presentation called like my experience with my racist roommates. Like, it was a poster. I'll put it here. On the poster in the last portion, you're gonna see the poster, but I proposed like several solutions to make FSU study abroad a better experience for like BIPOC. Other groups, like in the solutions, like I mentioned like other identities and whatnot, but because of my experience primarily BIPOC at the study centers, I give 10 free solutions. And this man comes up and he just looks at my poster and says, I'll take a note of it. No picture, no writing down, just I'll take a note of it. Walks away. I remember other like staff members came up to me and they said, I'm so sorry for what happened. And I said, thank you. I didn't say, you know, like, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not. I just said, you know, thank you. And then I remember another one of like the administrative FSUIP people, the ones that work on campus, like FSU campus, main campus at the stadium. They came up to me and they gave me a business card and I said, oh, let's have lunch and discuss. I remember I sent them an email, but nothing came about it. I never really took the offer because I was afraid like the free lunch or whatever would just be kind of like a bribe for me to do something, and I just didn't feel comfortable, so I never took that offer. And so right now, my hopes for the future, like I said, the solutions that I offered, I probably will list them on the screen and in the description. Another thing I ask is to just share this video in order to get my story out there, so that one, I really hope that those in positions of power, those who are white American FSU students, when they go to FSUIP, they don't treat their peers of color, their Black peers, Indigenous peers, with the same cruelty as my roommates did to me. And to really emphasize that silence is violence. Like, if you see here, you know, anything discriminatory, say something. Please say something, because if you're silent, you're just as guilty. And another thing to share this video is I really hope, you know, FSUIP looks at this, watches this video, looks at my solutions again, and really implements them. I'm just sharing, you know, my story. I'm sharing these solutions, but I don't want to be part of, you know, implementation. It's not my job. This is not my job. Y'all have the money. Y'all have this, you know, y'all have staff to go do that. So go do that. So that's just why I asked for change to be implemented, and hopefully for study abroad to be a positive experience for future generations that do go to the city centers. This is not to discourage anybody, but it's only to highlight the issues that I faced and that other students probably have faced as well. And this is not just like an isolated incident. It's honestly, it just reflects the grander issue, which is white supremacy within our society, and a whole bunch of other systemic issues that I won't go over in this video, but are very important to address. So that's the end of my video. Thank y'all for listening to my story. If y'all made it to the end, thank you so much. I hope y'all liked the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And thank y'all so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.